This is being recorded for our dear volleyball team and for others that are missing. One's off to a funeral for the weekend. So, what we're going to learn today, starting Excel Project 2, it's going to look something like, let me bring up my textbook pages, it's going to look something like this. Where'd my textbook go? I lost my textbook. We're going to be doing Excel with these objectives. We're going to be dealing with the heart of Excel, which is functions and formatting. That just comes along. We've already done some formatting. We're going to use something called flash fill, which is a way of entering data after giving it a pattern of a few things. And more formulas we're entering with a keyboard. That's the main part of Excel, where its power is. Pointing at cells to get their address, that's a great way to do it. Using other functions besides sum function out of the hundreds of functions available to you. The range finder lets you verify you're getting your numbers from the right places. Later on, as we format it, we'll be using themes. Using the date formatting. Going to be doing something else called conditional formatting. It's going to become in the second formatting part. Adjusting our columns width and row heights. We've done that already. And we can check spelling. Some other extra things we'll learn about. So let's start Excel, and one of the first things we're going to do is learn to obey Scripture with Excel. How do we obey Scripture with Excel, you ask? Well, here's how it's done. I'm going to start up Excel, closing the one I just did. This is how far we got in the previous section. You'll likely be this far. Let's start up Excel and start a blank workbook. And before we do the project, we're going to learn to obey Scripture. The title of our second sheet, I clicked the plus and made a second sheet just for a little practice. And I'm going to call it Obeying Scripture with Excel. How do I do that? Well, in Psalm 90, verse 12, it says, teach us to number our days, so we may apply our hearts to wisdoms. All right, we're going to obey that using Excel. First of all, we're going to start with today. Next is going to be our birthday and the number of our days. And we might as well calculate the number of our years too, just to verify, do we have it right? All right, today. I could type in the date for today, but then it would only be correct for today. I can type in equal, and I just know there's a function in there called now. I could search for functions using the function search and find out in there that there are date and time functions, and I hunt through there, I would see, oh, there's a now function. I click on it, oh, and I can learn about functions that way. So that little F right there helps me to search through available functions. But if you have it memorized, you can just type in equal and then start typing the function name, and it finds it for you. Oh, returns the current date and time. I do need to put the parentheses, I think. Let's see if I skip the parentheses, what does it do? Oh, it doesn't like it without putting the parentheses. So I put in the left parenthesis. It will put in the right one for me, but I might as well be clear here. I want the now function. The left and right parentheses just mean it's a function, but I don't have to send it any information. It figures out what now is, and there's today's date. Now, my birthday, go ahead and put in your birthday. I'm going to put in my birthday. Coming up pretty soon. Now, Excel can help me obey Scripture. The formula is, because I know Excel treats dates as numbers, the number of days since January 1st, 1900, I believe, I can subtract my birthday from today because the clock counts one up every day into the future. So I can say today, or what's in this cell, minus my birthday, which Excel treats as a number, and I hit enter, and that's how many days old I am. I am now obeying Scripture. If I want to just verify my age, I do equal my days, that there in C6, divided by 365.25, because every fourth year is a leap year. That'll get a closer approximation to my day, my year, my age, and there I have my age. Almost 64 when my birthday hits, when we hit November 18.
Mr. Nana,
Yep.
can you repeat that last step?
The years?
Yes.
I just figure out my days divided by 365 and a quarter. 365.25 gives an approximation of my age in years. And there we have how to obey Scripture with Excel, obeying Psalm 90 verse 12. Now it's up to you then to take that number and then apply yourself to wisdom. Apply your heart to wisdom. Wouldn't it be cool if we could figure out a number of days left? Number of days left. Boy, that would be an interesting formula. Guess, I'm probably not going to live past 2061. Live to be 100? I'm hoping to live to be 100. So you could guess how many days you have left. All right, so now that we have a little practice there just for fun, let's go now and build our project for today, which is a Klapoor Engineering salary report. Here's my textbook. I'll put it on my other page here. And now go through entering the information. It's going to become the header, and it's going to eventually look like this. I should have showed you this. Eventually, it's going to look like this. We're going to have the Klapoor Engineering merged and centered salary report, and we're going to have a gray box around that. We're going to have a heading row of each name of each column, the names of our employees, email addresses, the number of dependents, how many hours they've worked. All these numbers here, Excel is doing the work for us. So all we're entering is their names. The email is even going to be we're going to have Excel help with that. Dependents, hours worked. The rest are in their pay rate. The rest, Excel is going to do all this calculation. And even better, we're only going to calculate it for old Beanie, however you pronounce his name. And then we're going to fill handle down once we get it right for him. There is a little bit more work. We'll be entering formulas here, but only on one column and dragging it across. So really, we're only entering about 10 formulas. The rest is copying those formulas once we have them correct. All right. So let's get started. We'll get started with the easy stuff. At the top, the title, Klapoor Engineering Salary Report, which is going to become merged and centered. Enter salary report. And now the row headings are going to be my employee, their email, their number of dependents, hours worked. Now hours worked, we don't want to have a super wide column because hours worked is going to be between 0 and 80. So to have this fit on one line, I'm going to force a new line and have the word worked appear on the second line. I do that by holding the Alt key down and hitting enter. Hours, enter, worked. This makes sure that hours worked separates into two separate lines. Now once I hit enter, it pops it back up, increases the row height. I'm going to do the same thing for the next one. This is going to be hourly pay rate. So I type in hourly, Alt enter, the Alt key to the left of your spacebar, Alt enter, and now the words pay rate. Hit enter, and it pops it up to the two line height. It automatically expanded the height of that row. Auto fitted my row. Now the rest of them are single high. Gross pay. Federal tax. Tab. State tax. Tab. Tax. Percent. Instead of the word percent, I'm putting the percent symbol. Net pay, that's my paycheck. And just because we want to keep track of when we hired them, we're going to put hire date in that far cell. And I can zoom out to show you all our columns. Now we're ready to start entering the information that we have in the cells, and then we're going to leave the ones blank that we're going to let Excel do the work in. So our first employee is old Beanie Altor. Altor, comma, Beanie. Tab, don't need to type in an email yet. Dependents of 3. Hours worked, 74.5. Pay rate of 35.25. And now the hire date way over there, 9/5/10. And we're going to do the same thing for our other employees. I'm going to increase the column width of the column A, give room for their name. And the next one is Linda Fox. So Fox, comma Linda. Tabbing across email, skipping that. Dependents of 1. Hours worked of 80. Hard worker, that Linda. 33.1 for her pay rate. And then tab, 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 all the way out to hire date of 10/17/12. Now, because I'm tired of tabbing multiple times across these columns, I'm going to temporarily shrink those columns away from me by grabbing this edge of this column right there. When I get the double arrow, I'm going to click and drag that column all the way next to hourly pay rate. I'm not deleting that column. I'm just keeping me from having to tab across there to enter that information. I could do the same thing for email right now. Hide that row. And now when I enter the data, I can tab across and not have to worry about multiple tabs. So now I can enter Hanfield Germain. Tab to his dependents, skipped over that hidden row. Pay rate 71.75. Tab to his hours worked, 28.65. And then rather than, oh, it does make me tab once across the hidden rows, and now I'm in the hire date of 2213. Just a little convenient thing. It's nice to know I can skip over cells if all I do is just drag it. They're still there. I can unhide them later. I'll show you how to unhide them. And now the rest of the employees. Jamie Ben has 2 dependents, 60 hours, $18 an hour. Maybe if I hide that better, 115.16. Let's see if I drag that just a little further. Will it hide it completely? There we go. Now I don't have to tab once across those hidden ones. Nacht, Savannah has 42.25, 25.9, and the date of 5/18/12. Going to Spalding Jill. Three dependents, 80 hours a week. Oh, she's another hard worker. 32.5. I think it's 2 weeks of pay though. And it's 11/11/11. Oh, I forgot to enter Joel Pitfield. in between Savannah and Jill. What do I do? Well, I could move this row down, or I could right click on the 9 and insert. In case I forgot something, I can right click and insert a row. It's always going to insert above the row I clicked on, and now I can put in Joel Pitfield. With 0 dependents, 75.75, 21.95, and 5, 24, 13. You can always go back and edit any of them, and you can always insert or move things around. Just a few more to put in now. We have entered them in alphabetical order. We could actually let Excel do that for us too. Tillman, comma, Steve, with 2 dependents, worked 64.5 hours. He gets paid $41.02, and hire date $4/29/06. And our last, Olga. 1 dependent, 68 hours, 29.43, and hire date of 9/22/17. All right, now we're ready to fill in some of those that we have hidden. How do I unhide that row? Or the row, the column? Well, I click there and I see the double arrow with a double line in between. Once I'm there, I can right click, unhide. And it unhides the email column that I had hidden. I'm going to stretch that out. And we're only going to enter emails for 2 of our people and let Flash Fill do the rest of the work. So let's get it right for Benny and Linda. B Altor at Clipboard.com. Gotta spell it right. And now we'll enter it for Linda Fox. L Fox at Clipboard.com. Being very careful that I spell exactly correct, or this Flash Fill will break. So I've entered it for 2, and I see a pattern, and it's the first initial last name of the cell to my left. I now can show how Excel can do this for me. I'm going to select through that cell all the way up to that cell. The ones that I already typed are all selected. And now I'm going to go to a special Data tab, Flash Fill, underneath Data Tools. A little grid with a lightning bolt upper left. I hover over that, and seeing that the shortcut key would be a Control-E. And if you do this a lot, go ahead and memorize Control-E. Don't worry about it at this point. I click on that and watch Excel do the work for me. Look at that. It has detected the pattern and filled in the rest for me. Now this isn't a big deal if I only have 10 more to do. I could just as well have typed them. But just imagine having 1,000 in a list and somebody wants to say, okay, we want to fill in what their email is going to be. Well, you could tell your boss, that's going to take me a couple hours. Let me get working on that. You do your Flash Fill and go take a coffee break and come back and say, yeah, that was a lot of hard work. Yes?
How did you just do that?
Oh, let me do that over again, because this is kind of a cool feature. First of all, I have to select through the cells I want to Flash Fill. And then under the Data tab, this little guy here, the little grid with a lightning bolt, is our Flash Fill right there. Click on that, and it automatically fills in the rest based on the pattern established with the first 2. Pretty slick, huh? And I can double click on my column to auto fit my emails. I can double click here to auto fit my names. And now we're ready to enter some more formulas. Now they have more to do with numbers. Normally Excel, we focus more on numbers, but the Flash Fill can even help with the names. Now in the textbook, they decide, before we go do some formulas that are right now are going to be put in these hidden columns, let's go ahead and recolor and rename our sheet that we're in. So I double click on my sheet name and let's call it salary report. And right clicking on that, oh, I have to finish the salary report, and now right clicking on it, tab color. I can adjust the tab color and choose any tab color you like. I'm going to choose, in the book they choose the blue, so I'll go with the blue. If I click off that tab, I show the blue. If I click on it, I sort of get the gradient blue. That looks greenish to me, actually. So there's what the tab will be, and that's a nice thing to know. Now we need to fill in these columns that are hidden right now. I could go till I get the double line, double arrow, and then right click unhide, one at a time, unhiding one column, or I could select through E to J and now adjust the column width a tiny bit, and now all those columns, including the ones that are hidden in between, get the same width. So that's a quick way of unhiding some cells, some columns that are being hid. I'll do that again. Suppose some columns are being hid, multiple columns. I can right click, unhide. Sometimes you might get an unhide all, or I can click one, unhide it, unhides it one at a time. Let's see if I select through multiples and right click. There's an unhide. That will do the same as adjusting the column width of one. Now I can enter formulas here on these other ones. And the rest is for Excel to do the work. Now the plan here is we're only going to worry about calculating it correctly for one employee. Once we get it right for one, then we will fill handle down. So let's get it correct, and then we'll select and fill handle down. Gross pay is equal to our hours worked times hourly pay rate. Well, where are those numbers being stored? I can point to them, or I could type D4. I like the pointing method. Makes sure I get the numbers right. And I'm going to be multiplying. I do have to type the asterisk. That's the shift 8. Not the X. The asterisk is our multiply. And then click on hourly pay rate. So I should have something around 2,500 or so. 26 for gross pay. Yes, that number makes sense. I could fill handle down now, but I'm going to do them all, and then I'll fill handle them all together. Federal tax is a strange formula. We went to the tax formula for the government. They always make strange formulas. It's equal to, and I start my formula by typing equal. It's equal to my gross pay, or sorry, 26% first, 0.26 times a special formula inside of parentheses. So it's 0.26 times, well, my gross pay, which is F4, minus a number that government documents gave me, 22.16 times the number of dependents I have. So I'm basically getting a tax break, deducting my gross pay by $22 per dependent, and then multiplying that by 26%. That seems to be the reasoning there. I'm deducting from my pay $22 per dependent, and then whatever the result is, I get 26% is my federal tax. Big chunk federal tax. Welcome to the world of the working person. State tax, depending on what state you're in, this will be 0 for Florida. For Iowa, I think it's around, is it 6 at Iowa? Yeah, question. Oh, the formula again is there. So 26%. Notice it did put a 0.26 in front of the, when I only typed 0.26. Asterisk, and then in parentheses, the gross pay minus a number that I type in, 22.16 times asterisk 6C4. That's where my gross pay is, or my dependents.
Can you do the gross pay one?
Yeah. So gross pay is hourly pay rate, or sorry, gross pay is hourly pay rate times hours worked. And if I want to see all my formulas, I can hit Control tilde and all my formulas show up just to verify my formulas. The Control tilde is kind of useful. And especially when I'm grading it, I make sure that you have typed formulas and haven't typed the numbers that you see that should be there. So Make sure you do type a formula, not just a number that's supposed to be there that shows up in the book. Okay? Control tilde to go back to what the result of the formula is. And state tax is a little easier. It's simply equal, remember the equal starts the formula, 5.5%, which is mathematically 0.055 times state tax, times my gross pay, which is over there in F4. I'm going to just type F4 this time. So there's my state tax formula. If we were doing Iowa, we would make that 0.06. Everyone good? All right, now one last formula. Actually, two more formulas. Net pay is really easy. And actually, we can put in net pay even before we figure out our tax percent, because really that's not involved in our net pay. But let's go, tax percent is equal to my total taxes divided by my total gross pay. Well, total taxes is, because I'm adding two things together and I'm going to be dividing by it later, I need to put them inside parentheses. It's these two things added together, G4 plus H4. Put them in parentheses because we're going to add them together first, and then divide by my gross pay. That will give me a fraction, and we're going to, later on, we're going to put it in percent format after it does the calculation. So the two taxes added together in parentheses divided by my gross pay. So what percent of my gross pay is tax? And welcome to the world of 30% tax rate. If you make a lot more money, that percentage goes up, and I don't think that's right. I think everyone should pay the same percentage. But that's for another discussion. Net pay is equal to, well, my gross pay minus both taxes. Now I could put the taxes in parentheses, but I like the simple method of subtract federal tax and also subtract state tax. In the book, they put these in parentheses, add them together, and then subtract what's in parentheses. I like to avoid extra parentheses to make the math as simple as possible. Gross pay minus the two taxes. And now I hit enter. There's my gross pay. I thought I was going to get something like $2,600. That's what they told me when they hired me, but they told me my gross pay when they hired me. That's what I'm really getting in my check. And when I got my first check, that really bothered me. And I realized, oh yeah, the governor, got to pay the governor. Now that we have those correct, and don't worry about the higher dates getting pound signs there, I can just auto-fit that column. Now that I'm confident I have them right for Benny, I can select through, thick selector, select through, let go, and now come and grab the fill handle. Oh, I went too far. I only want to go that far. Now I could have fill handled one at a time down. That would be fine too. But I like selecting them all with the thick cursor and fill handling down for the rest of them. And we look at the numbers. Do they make sense? We'll later on be putting things in better formatting. The numbers seem to make sense. Now let's add the extra things we wanted to put in our table here. We've calculated the main things. Now we're going to be entering some extra formulas. We would like in row 13 to have totals. We're going to be totaling up some of the columns. We're also going to be totaling up or figuring out the highest, the lowest, and the average of some of the columns. Well, let's do the totals first. Total dependents doesn't make sense. Why does it matter how many everyone has for dependents in my company? I'm going to skip that. But the total hours worked, that is an interesting number. Let's go to Home tab with that cell right there, and we'll do the simple way of doing it, summation. Click on the sigma, it automatically guesses what to add up together, and it's guessing the right cells. Before clicking anywhere, I hit enter. And let's do the same thing for gross pay. I don't need a total of hourly pay rate because it's a rate. It doesn't make sense to have a sum of that. Click on that one, and click summation. And it gives me the sum of gross pay. And it automatically guesses what I want to put there for state tax. We'll put a summation there instead, but I'm still going to mathematically get the same number. Excel pops that up for me. Here's another way to do summation. I could have selected through, that's just for fun, I could have also done this. Select through all of these and click summation. It will automatically guess, you must have meant, I want to add up those numbers and add up those numbers. So I don't have to do the fill handle. Summation automatically guesses the right cells to add a sum together of. But we come back and realize adding up percentages doesn't make sense, so I'm going to delete that. I don't need and I don't want that invalid summation of rate of percentages. Now it gets a little trickier because for the highest, I have to figure out, and I do want the highest, the highest dependents in my company. Now, where would I find highest? Well, over here under the little arrowweed guy next to the Greek symbol, there's other common functions. Down here is the rest of the functions we'll explore in a minute. But here's the one for highest, that's the max. I want the max of some numbers. I click that. It guesses that I want the max of all those numbers, but really I don't want it to include the total row. So I could back up and type a 12 there, or I could re-drag through just the numbers I want to get the max of. Only rows 4 to 12. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm getting ready to fill handle across for the max. I hit enter, and now I can fill handle, and it will automatically only do rows 4 to 12 of all these rows. And I could even do the max of a date. Let's see how that turns out. 43,000 is the number it gets because it's treating dates as numbers. Watch what happens if I click on that column and click show me that as a date by choosing short date. It actually shows me the employee who has the highest date of hire date, meaning the most recent hire date. But we don't really have to have that in there, but that's a valid way of using a max. Yes?
Can you go back to how to get the total of gross pay?
Total gross pay, yeah. It's just a summation of F4 to F12. And I'll do that, I'll just start over, I'll just have it blank. I click on it, and I click the Greek symbol. It automatically guesses the right numbers to add together because it's right next to it. Once it does that, I just hit enter. So I use the Greek symbol on that one, and then I fill handled across. And again, the tax percent summation doesn't make sense, so I'm going to delete that one. That doesn't make sense. The tax percent total is an invalid mathematical number. And it actually pops up a little note saying, are you sure about that? Has a little exclamation point. This format is different from the rest. It just gives me a little warning.
Can you show the highest again?
Oh, highest? I'll start here, and then because we just fill handled. Double click, that's the max. And I'll start as though I were doing from the start. I click the little arrow there next to the sigma, max. It wants to choose more than I want. I drag through just rows 4 to 12, and then hit enter. And then I fill handle across. I went all the way to the hire date. In the book they don't do that, but this just shows you that dates are to Excel. Dates are just numbers, and max. If I treat that as just a general number, there's the number of days since January 1st, 1900, for represented by September 22nd, 2017.
My numbers are all perfect.
In your highest and lowest?
Yeah.
Come take a look. Are you getting a 80? Let's just take it one at a time. Click on this one. Is it getting the max of just rows D4 to D12? Make sure that you're only getting the max up to row 12. And now that it's correct for that, I would then click on it once and fill handle it across to get it right. You don't have to put the max of that higher date. Since they don't do that in the book, we can delete that one. Now in a similar way, I can do the lowest. There's the cell I want to put the lowest. This time, it's the function called min. It guesses the wrong cells. No, I don't want the min of that. I come and point and click. I want the min of those numbers. I could have typed C4 colon C12, but I like the point and click. And this is where if you don't let go of, if you don't hit enter and you start dragging somewhere else, see how it's, anywhere I drag, it's thinking, oh, that's what you want. Oh, that's what you want. No, this is what I want to do the min of. Hit enter before pointing anywhere else. That's the danger of the point and click method. If you don't hit enter and you start pointing or clicking somewhere else, it messes up your formula. It's happened to me more than once. I hit enter, and now fill handle across. If I treated the date as a min date would be the longest or the higher date of my oldest employee. Average, let's do the average. That's up here again in the common formulas. There's the average. And of course I want the average of, again, rows 4 to 12. Hit enter, see if it makes sense. It should be somewhere between 0 and 3 because, and I do get a 0 between 0 and 3. And fill handle that across. And now I can do the control tilde to see what formulas I have in all those cells. As I started here, then I filled them across. And control tilde takes me back to the results of those formulas. Now at this point, I have a decent looking spreadsheet. The dates, sometimes depending on your zoom level, the dates will show pound signs for me. Don't panic, just double click on the column. And now let's make sure that we save all this work we've done. I haven't saved it yet. Let's do Control S, save. And I'm going to save it in the right place. Last time it kind of hung up when I was going to do the save. Oh, it didn't work, take so long a time. I'm going to call it JSmart EX2 Clipper Engineering. And now let's just review what we did. We'll go one at a time just to verify. I click on, I'm going to double click to, first of all, examine my formulas. The gross pay, it was hours worked times hourly pay rate. Yeah, that makes sense. Federal tax was that strange formula, double click. 26% of some number, my gross pay mainly, but then subtracting a little for each dependent. Yeah, makes sense. State tax, just 5.5 straight. Flat tax, 5.5% is mathematically 0.055. There's my gross pay. Tax percent, there's the two taxes added together, divided by the total. And the higher date, or the net pay, is the gross pay minus my two taxes. And because it was correct for this guy, I can always say, let's make sure I got it right for everyone. I can always refill handle down to my last person. Just in case I made a fix to my formulas, I can always recopy my formulas in case something went wrong. If you ever have a problem, you can always say, let's get it right for one, and then fix the rest by just recopying it over. But make sure if you do copy it over, don't copy over the other ones that had to do with the summation. And so check your numbers. This number here, if you have that number right, you probably have the rest of the numbers correct. If you have 12688.3 right here, you're most likely, I'd say 99% sure that you got all your other formulas correct. Now what I'm going to do just here as I get ready to do some formatting, A common thing to do is separate out extra numbers from the main calculation. So typically I would increase the height of row 13 just so these extra numbers are separated out from my table. Some people like to put an extra row in between, but since I know I can adjust the height of that row, I like doing that. Just give me some extra space between that, and I will, same thing with this, I will often give a little space between my numbers and what this is going to become my title. If we want to auto fit any columns, I can do a Control-A, select everything, double click on any column, it will auto fit my columns for me. And it made them rather wide because it's using lots and lots of decimal places, which we're going to change that next time. But so the auto fit did fit it to the total number of decimals, which is way more than I'm going to need. You can imagine we're going to be putting these numbers in comma or accounting format when it has to do with dollars, and others will probably just be putting them in comma format or reducing our number of decimals. That's what we'll be learning about next time. So here's what we have so far. Don't worry if your columns are strange sizes. We can always adjust as we format everything next time. Notice as I adjust a column gets too narrow, suddenly my number will turn to pound signs. Notice it doesn't turn to pound signs unless it runs out of room for the main number. It doesn't care that I ran out of room for what came after the decimal. But if I make it too narrow, it'll complain once the number before the decimal gets squeezed out. All right, save that. Make sure you have a backup of it. And have a wonderful weekend. Cheer on our volleyball girls. Hope you did great, girls. You think they're watching this because they're when they're having a hard time sleeping?